Sometimes the hardest thing to see is what's right in front of you. We live in a world where people are constantly chasing what's far away, what's next, what's new. We look over mountains for answers, when often the truth is sitting quietly at our feet. Sometimes the miracle you've been praying for is already in motion. Sometimes the opportunity you're looking for has already knocked. You just didn't recognize its sound. Many people spend their lives searching for purpose, for meaning, for direction, when the answer is already living within them. It's like standing in front of a door that's wide open, but refusing to walk through because you're waiting for a sign that the door is meant for you. Life hides its treasures in plain sight. Not because they are invisible, but because our minds are distracted. We're so focused on what we don't have that we overlook what we do. Think about how often we ignore the small signs. The conversation that inspires you, the person who encourages you, the opportunity that doesn't look glamorous, but carries your destiny inside it. It's not that life is hiding blessings. It's that we haven't trained our eyes to see them. The hardest thing to see isn't far away. It's the thing you've been walking past every day, calling it ordinary when in fact it's divine. You see, vision isn't about sight, it's about insight. Many can see, but few can perceive. Perception is the difference between the person who complains about problems and the one who sees solutions in the same situation. The same storm that sinks one man's ship can carry another to a new shore. It's not what you see that determines your future. It's how you see it. Sometimes what you're running from is actually the thing designed to shape you. The challenge you're trying to escape might be the very tool life is using to build your strength. The delay you hate might be the preparation you need. The people who walked away may have been the distraction you didn't know you had to lose. We keep asking for open doors, but we don't realize some doors only open after we stop staring at the wrong ones. So many times, clarity doesn't come from asking for more. It comes from paying attention to what's already there. Your gift, your potential, your calling, it's not hidden somewhere in the future. It's in your habits, your struggles, your present moment. Your future is not waiting to be found. It's waiting to be recognized. Dry Miles Monroe always reminded people that vision gives pain a purpose. When you can see what something means, you can endure what it brings. So when you're lost, don't rush to change your situation, change your perspective. What if everything you need is already in your hands, but you've been too focused on the horizon to notice it? What if the answer isn't far away, but closer than you've ever imagined? There's a divine principle hidden in life. Before something becomes visible, it must first be valuable to your perception. Until you value what's right in front of you, you can't see its worth. Sometimes we ignore the job that builds our discipline because we're dreaming of the one that builds our pride. Sometimes we overlook the friend who genuinely supports us because we're chasing people who impress us. And sometimes we miss the season we're in because we're obsessed with the season we want. What's right in front of you could be your preparation, your test, your answer, your blessing. But if you keep waiting for something grand, something dramatic, you'll miss the quiet voice of destiny whispering in the ordinary. The hardest thing to see is what's right in front of you because it doesn't shout. It simply waits to be noticed. The power of awareness is everything. The moment you learn to see differently, you start living differently. Gratitude sharpens your vision. Humility opens your eyes. Patience aligns your focus. When you slow down, when you look deeper, you begin to realize that life was never withholding anything from you. You were just too hurried, too distracted, too focused on what's next to see what's now. Stop asking for more when you haven't valued what you already have. Stop waiting for a sign when life has already sent you a signal. Open your eyes, not just to see, but to perceive. Because the greatest discoveries in life are not found in faraway places, but in familiar faces, familiar moments, and familiar paths you've been overlooking all along. Purpose is often hidden in plain sight, not in distant dreams. So many people waste years chasing a version of life that looks good on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. They believe purpose is somewhere far away, waiting to be discovered in another country, another job, another person, another opportunity. But the truth is, purpose has always been close. It hides in your daily actions, in the small things you overlook, in the skills you take for granted. It's not something you find at the top of a mountain. It's something you uncover in the valley of consistency. Think about how we often dream so big that we forget to notice what's already in our hands. We say things like, if only I had more money, I'd do something meaningful. Or once I get that promotion, I'll finally live my purpose. But life doesn't work that way. Purpose doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It begins where you are. Every big vision starts with a small moment of obedience, a small step, a small act of faith. What you call insignificant might be the exact seed that holds your destiny. A person might be working as a cleaner and think their role has no meaning, but through their consistency and character, they inspire everyone around them. Another person may be working in a small cafe and feel forgotten, yet their kindness to strangers becomes the light that changes someone's day. Purpose is not about position, it's about contribution. The world doesn't reward titles, it rewards impact. Sometimes the greatest purpose is lived quietly, without applause, without fame, without recognition, but it still shakes the world in unseen ways. Too often, we look for signs that we're on the right path, but purpose rarely arrives with an announcement. It's not loud, it's subtle. It's in that passion that keeps you awake at night. It's in the thing you do effortlessly that others find difficult. It's in the moments when your soul feels alive, even when your body feels tired. That's purpose whispering. But because it doesn't come wrapped in success, we ignore it. We think it's too simple to matter. We tell ourselves that true purpose must be grand, dramatic, world-changing. But what if your purpose is to change one life at a time, beginning with your own? Sometimes we're so busy chasing after something big that we miss the small assignments that build us for it. A seed never looks like a tree, yet every tree begins as a seed. The small things you're doing now might look insignificant, but they're shaping your future. The moments when no one is watching, when no one claps, when no one believes in you, those are the sacred moments where purpose is being refined. The silence you hate is often the training ground for clarity. Purpose grows in hidden places before it's revealed in public spaces. Life has a way of disguising destiny as duty. What you're doing today might feel ordinary, but it could be preparing you for something extraordinary. Joseph was just serving in a prison before he ruled in a palace. David was tending sheep before he faced Goliath. They didn't chase greatness. They were faithful where they were. That's how purpose works. It rewards faithfulness, not fame. It's not about how big your stage is, but how deeply you serve where you stand. Look at your life right now. The routines, the habits, the struggles, the lessons. Maybe your purpose is already there, waiting for your awareness. Maybe that frustration you feel is not a sign you're off track, but a signal that you're being stretched into alignment. The things that annoy you most about the world might be clues to what you're called to fix. Purpose often hides behind pain. If something breaks your heart deeply, it might be because you were born to heal it. If something moves you profoundly, it might be because it's connected to your mission. Many people think they need to escape their environment to find purpose, but often purpose is revealed through your environment. The people you're surrounded by, the challenges you face, the opportunities you overlook, all of these are indicators pointing you toward who you're meant to become. Life is not random. Every season serves a purpose. The moments of confusion are molding your understanding. The moments of failure are refining your strength. The lessons you're learning in private will one day become the wisdom you share in public. Imagine a man who spends years complaining that he doesn't know his purpose. Every day he wakes up and goes to a job he dislikes, waiting for a miracle. One day, someone new joins the team, discouraged, lost, unsure of themselves. This man takes time to guide them, encourage them, and lift their confidence. That single act of compassion lights something inside him. He realizes he feels alive when he's helping others grow. That's purpose revealing itself, not through a thunderstorm, not through a spotlight, but through a simple act of kindness. Purpose hides in the moments you serve without expecting anything in return. Purpose will not always appear in the places you expect. Sometimes it's disguised as responsibility, sometimes as pain, sometimes as boredom. But the moment you stop looking so far ahead and start paying attention to what's already around you, you'll begin to see the pattern. Every skill you've learned, every heartbreak you've endured, every success and every loss. They're not separate stories. They're connected threads in one big tapestry of meaning. Purpose is not found. It's revealed through awareness. You don't need to travel the world to find it. You don't need to wait for a perfect day or a special moment. You just need to look deeper at what you already have, who you already are, and where you already stand. Because sometimes the thing you've been searching for is already right in front of you, hidden in plain sight, disguised as the life you've been living all along. The problem is not lack of vision, but lack of perception. Many people can see, but few can truly perceive. Sight is what your eyes capture, but perception is what your mind understands. Vision is the picture of what you want, but perception is the lens through which you interpret what you see. Two people can look at the same situation and walk away with completely different conclusions, because one is seeing with their eyes and the other is perceiving with their understanding. The difference between those who grow and those who give up is not in what they see, but in how they see it. You can have perfect sight and still be blind to your opportunity. You can be standing in the middle of your breakthrough and not recognize it because it doesn't look the way you expected. So many people miss their season because they are looking for something glamorous, something obvious, something grand, when life often delivers purpose in plain packaging. Perception is the ability to recognize value before the world does. It's the skill of seeing gold while everyone else only sees dirt. Think about the farmer. When he looks at a field, he doesn't just see soil. He sees potential harvest. He doesn't see what it is. He sees what it can become. Perception is what separates the farmer from the wanderer. Both see the same land, but only one perceives its future. The same applies to life. When you face a challenge, you can either see it as a wall or perceive it as a doorway. When you encounter a delay, you can either see it as rejection or perceive it as preparation. Perception transforms obstacles into opportunities and pain into purpose. Many people pray for blessings, but when the blessing comes dressed as work, they reject it. They say, this can't be what I asked for. It's too hard. It's too small. It's too ordinary. They fail to perceive that greatness often comes disguised as responsibility. A small assignment today could be the seed of a major purpose tomorrow. But if you lack perception, you will walk past it complaining that life is unfair, while someone else with sharper perception will take that same opportunity and turn it into destiny. There was once a man who worked in a small shop, folding clothes every day. He hated the job, thinking it was beneath him. One day, he started noticing the patterns in people's choices. What colors they picked, what designs they liked, how fabrics made them feel. He began to study them quietly. Years later, he started his own fashion brand using the insights he had learned in that small store. That's perception. He didn't just see clothes, he saw behavior, trends, human emotions. His environment didn't change. His perception did. Perception is what gives meaning to vision. You can dream of success, but if you don't perceive value in the process, you'll abandon it the moment it gets difficult. Perception helps you see that your struggle isn't your enemy, it's your education. The late nights, the rejection, the uncertainty, these are not roadblocks, they're lessons designed to refine you. Perception allows you to see purpose in pain. Without it, you'll call every delay a failure and every trial a punishment, when in fact they are invitations to grow. Look at how people respond to the same experience differently. Two students can sit under the same teacher, one leaves inspired, the other leaves bored. Two workers can have the same job, one finds meaning, the other finds misery. The difference is perception. One perceives purpose, the other only sees routine. One focuses on what they can learn, the other on what they must do. Perception determines the quality of your experience, not your circumstances. Sometimes perception is the bridge between your prayer and your progress. Many people think God or destiny has ignored them, when in reality, life has already delivered what they asked for, just not in the form they expected. They pray for strength, and life sends them struggles. They ask for patience, and life sends them delays. They pray for wisdom, and life sends them problems to solve. They misinterpret the answer because they lack perception. Perception helps you see that what feels like resistance might actually be training. There's a story of a young woman who wanted to start her own business. She applied for funding, but every investor turned her down. She grew discouraged and thought it wasn't meant to be. One day, an older man told her, "Your rejection is not denial, it's direction." They're not saying no to your dream, they're saying refine your idea. She went back, adjusted her plan, and eventually built something even stronger. Perception turned her pain into purpose. She didn't get new eyes, she got new understanding. If your perception is narrow, you'll always feel like life is against you. But when you expand your perception, you begin to see that everything is working for you. The same event that one person calls a setback, another calls a setup. The same failure that breaks one person becomes fuel for another. Your perception defines your experience more than the event itself. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you interpret what happens. That's where power lies, not in changing your reality, but in changing your relationship with it. When you perceive differently, even the smallest things begin to reveal meaning. A conversation becomes guidance, a delay becomes protection, a failure becomes direction. Perception turns confusion into clarity. Most people ask for clarity before they move, but clarity often comes after movement. Perception grows with experience. You can't wait for everything to make sense before you start. You must start before everything makes sense. Every step you take refines your perception. That's why wise people never despise small beginnings. They understand that perception matures in process, not in comfort. Life rewards those who can see beyond the obvious. The person who perceives learns from everything, from loss, from love, from loneliness, from failure, from waiting. They look at the same world everyone else sees, but they interpret it differently. That's why two people can live the same life, face the same trials, and end up in completely different places. Perception shapes destiny. What you perceive, you believe, and what you believe, you become. What you call ordinary might carry your divine assignment. Life has a strange way of hiding extraordinary purpose inside ordinary moments. The things you overlook, the routines you rush through, the people you take for granted, they could all be connected to the very thing you were born to do. But most people never notice because they're waiting for something loud, something dramatic, something that looks like destiny. They want a big sign, a big opportunity, a big stage, and because of that, they miss the quiet doors that open to greatness. Many of us are so busy searching for purpose in distant places that we ignore the power of what's right in front of us. We complain about our daily responsibilities, not realizing that within those small acts of consistency lies the foundation of destiny. The divine doesn't always appear in flashes of lightning. Sometimes it hides in the rhythm of the routine. You might think your work is meaningless, your effort unnoticed, your contribution small. But purpose often begins in places too ordinary to attract attention. Think about the chef who started out washing dishes in a crowded restaurant. Day after day, he stood by the sink, tired and invisible, wondering if life would ever change. One evening, the main cook didn't show up, and the owner asked him to fill in. Nervous but willing, he took the chance. That night, he cooked like he had been waiting his whole life for that moment. Today, he runs his own restaurant, and people call him a genius. But his story didn't start in a kitchen filled with fame. It started with a man washing dishes, showing up, learning quietly. What seemed ordinary became the ground where his purpose was born. Sometimes your divine assignment is not hiding from you. It's waiting for you to value what looks unimportant. Purpose is revealed to those who honor the small things. The person who treats small tasks with excellence is being trained for larger assignments. If you can't handle what seems insignificant, you're not ready for what's significant. Every great destiny begins with something simple, a decision, a responsibility, a habit, a chance to serve. People often say, I'm meant for something greater. And that's true, but greater doesn't always mean different. Sometimes greater means deeper. Seeing with new eyes what you've already been given. The job you despise might be the classroom where your discipline is tested. The conversation you're ignoring might be the mentorship you prayed for. The place you're trying to leave might be the field where you're supposed to grow. You can't skip the ordinary and still expect the extraordinary, because the extraordinary is built inside the ordinary. Imagine a teacher standing before a noisy classroom every day, exhausted, underpaid, and unappreciated. She wonders if her efforts even matter. Years later, one of her students becomes a leader, a thinker, a creator. And he says, there was one teacher who believed in me. That's divine assignment. She didn't see herself changing the world, but she was shaping one soul that would go on to touch millions. What looked like routine was actually divine work in disguise. Purpose doesn't always announce itself. It often whispers through consistency. The small act of kindness you show to someone struggling, the time you spend encouraging a friend, the patience you give your family, these moments are not random. They are threads in the fabric of your divine design. What feels ordinary to you might be extraordinary to someone else. You may see yourself as just a worker, a parent, a student, but to someone watching, you are a lifeline, an example, a reflection of something higher. The challenge is that we've been taught to measure importance by visibility. We think something only matters if it's public, if it's praised, if it's rewarded. But some of the most powerful work ever done has been quiet, unseen, and uncelebrated. The gardener who tends to the soil never gets the same attention as the one who sells the flowers, but without the gardener, there would be nothing to sell. The person you become in the shadows determines what you can carry in the light. Sometimes the very thing you're calling boring is the thing that's building your strength. The ordinary is where patience grows, where humility develops, where character is shaped. Every divine assignment begins with hidden training. The world sees the fruit, but God grows the roots in silence. What you call ordinary might be the gym, where your spirit learns endurance, where your dreams learn discipline, where your heart learns gratitude. The day you start valuing the small things is the day life begins to reveal the big ones. Think about your own life. How many times have you dismissed something because it didn't look important? How many people have you overlooked because they didn't seem connected to your destiny? Sometimes your next opportunity isn't in a new place. It's in the old place, seen differently. Maybe that daily conversation with your coworker is more than just small talk. Maybe that skill you learned years ago, the one you've ignored, is waiting to open a door you never imagined. Divine assignments are not always new. They are often rediscovered. The truth is, nothing is ordinary when you approach it with purpose. Every task, every encounter, every moment has the potential to reveal something sacred. When you start treating life as sacred, you begin to see meaning everywhere. Washing dishes becomes a lesson in gratitude. Driving to work becomes a moment for reflection. Speaking to a stranger becomes an opportunity for impact. When you live with awareness, the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. The divine is not found only in the heights of achievement. It's found in the depths of awareness. Life doesn't always shout purpose. It whispers it through the simple things, the things others ignore. When you learn to see that, you begin to realize that your life has been full of assignments all along. You just needed to open your eyes to them. Life's blessings rarely shout. They whisper to those who pay attention. Most people expect blessings to arrive with noise, with excitement, with grand announcements that everyone can see. But the truth is, blessings often come quietly. They don't always look like success. They don't always come wrapped in comfort. And they rarely arrive when we expect them. They come disguised in moments of struggle, in lessons that test your patience, in people who challenge you to grow. Blessings whisper because they are meant for the ones who are listening, not for the ones who are merely looking. There's a rhythm to life that many miss because they are too busy chasing what's loud. We are surrounded by noise, comparison, competition, constant movement. And in all that noise, we lose the ability to hear the soft voice of gratitude, the quiet pull of purpose, the gentle signs that life is aligning in our favor. Blessings don't need to be announced because they are experienced. You can't hear them if your heart is always shouting with complaints. You can't recognize them if your eyes are always fixed on what's missing. Imagine a person walking through a garden, headphones on, rushing to get to the other side. They pass by blooming flowers, the sound of birds, the smell of freshness after rain. But they notice none of it. That's how most of us live. Life is full of quiet beauty, but we are too distracted to pay attention. The whisper of blessing is in the laughter of your child, the breath you take each morning, the meal on your table, the roof above your head, the strength to keep going when you could have given up. These are not small things. These are whispers of grace. Some people keep waiting for a miracle, not realizing they're living inside one. They say, nothing good ever happens to me. But they woke up today. They're breathing. They have another chance to try again. We keep asking for more without seeing what we already have. Blessings are not always added to your life. Sometimes they are already there, waiting to be acknowledged. The whisper is not that you need more, but that you already have enough to begin. There was a woman who used to complain every morning about her long walk to work. She would pass the same street, the same houses, the same faces. One day, after losing her job unexpectedly, she had nowhere to go. That morning, she walked the same road, but this time with tears in her eyes. Suddenly, she noticed things she had never seen before. The old man who waved every day, the children playing on the corner, the sound of birds in the trees. For the first time, she realized that those mornings were not a burden, they were blessings. Sometimes it takes losing what's familiar to recognize its value. Life whispers because blessings are sacred. If they shouted, everyone would hear them, but not everyone would honor them. Some things are too precious to be loud. The quiet moment of peace after chaos, the small success after countless failures, the feeling of calm when you finally let go of what you can't control. These moments are silent teachers. The louder your world becomes, the more you must learn to listen. The problem is not that blessings aren't there. It's that our focus is elsewhere. We keep waiting for the big door to open while the small windows of opportunity go unnoticed. Blessings whisper through intuition, that gentle nudge telling you to try again, to call someone, to take a risk, to forgive, to be grateful. They whisper because they don't need to prove themselves. They know their power. And only those who pay attention can hear their call. Sometimes, what you call disappointment is actually a blessing in disguise. You didn't get the job you wanted, and you're frustrated. But that rejection redirected you to something better. You lost a relationship and thought it was the end, but it freed you to meet someone who would love you in truth. You failed in a business, only to discover a new idea that changed everything. Blessings often hide behind moments that feel like endings. They don't shout, trust me, they whisper, wait and see. People often say, if only I could see my blessing clearly, I would be thankful. But that's not how life works. Gratitude comes first, clarity follows. When you start thanking life for the small things, you train your eyes to notice the big ones. When you start paying attention, you realize how much you already have. Blessings multiply when they are noticed. They fade when they are ignored. Life gives more to the ones who can appreciate little. There's a quiet power in slowing down. When you pause, you begin to see what's been speaking to you all along. You notice how every challenge shaped your strength. You realize that every delay protected you from something you weren't ready for. You see that the people who walked away made space for those who truly belong. These realizations don't come with noise. They come with stillness. Blessings are not always about gain. Sometimes they're about the removal of what was blocking your peace. Think of the sunrise. It doesn't demand attention, yet it lights up the world every day. It doesn't shout. It simply appears, painting the sky in quiet majesty. That's how blessings work. They don't announce themselves. They show up in silence and transform everything. But only those who look up can see them. When you start paying attention, you realize that life has been whispering to you the whole time. Every challenge, every encounter, every delay, every moment of peace, all of it is communicating something. It's saying, slow down. Listen, there's something sacred happening right now. The noise of life might try to drown it out, but the whisper of blessing is still there, waiting for you to hear it. Gratitude sharpens your ability to see value in the present. So many people live their lives waiting for something big to happen before they feel thankful. They believe gratitude is a reward for success, not realizing it's the very reason success finds them. Gratitude doesn't just make you happy, it makes you aware. It's like cleaning the lens through which you see life. When you're ungrateful, your vision becomes clouded. You only see what's missing, what's broken, what's wrong. But when you live with gratitude, suddenly everything looks different. The same day that once felt ordinary begins to feel sacred. The same people you took for granted start to look like blessings. The same routine that felt tiring starts to feel meaningful. Gratitude doesn't change your situation. It changes how you see your situation. Life is filled with people who are waiting for the next season to be thankful. They say, when I get that job, I'll be happy. Or once I move to that city, then I'll appreciate life. But that's the trap. If you can't find value where you are, you won't find it anywhere else. Gratitude doesn't grow from circumstances. It grows from awareness. It's not about what you have. It's about what you notice. The richest people in the world are not those with the most possessions. They're the ones who have learned to see beauty in what others overlook. Imagine two people walking through the same street. One complains about the noise, the traffic, the heat. The other notices the laughter of children, the smell of bread from a nearby bakery, the sunlight touching the buildings. Same street, same moment, different experience. The difference is not the environment. It's perception sharpened by gratitude. Gratitude turns life from something you endure into something you experience fully. When you start practicing gratitude, you begin to see how much you already have. The breath in your lungs, the mind that still dreams, the heart that still beats, despite everything you've been through. These are not small things. They are miracles disguised as normalcy. Life becomes extraordinary when you stop expecting extraordinary things and start appreciating the ordinary. The smallest moment of peace can feel like heaven if your heart is thankful. Many people believe that gratitude comes naturally when life is easy. But the truth is, it's most powerful when life is hard. When everything is falling apart, gratitude is not denial. It's defiance. It's looking at chaos and saying, I still choose to see the good. It's refusing to let darkness blind your vision. It's understanding that even pain can carry purpose. Gratitude gives you strength because it allows you to see beyond the surface. It reminds you that even when life feels empty, there's still something worth holding on to. Think of a person who loses their job unexpectedly. At first, they feel devastated. But after some time, they start noticing how this loss forced them to reconnect with their family, to rest, to rediscover passions they had forgotten. They realize that the ending they hated became the beginning they needed. Gratitude helps you see value in moments that don't look valuable. It doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means trusting that everything has purpose. The reason gratitude is so powerful is because it shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. When you stop obsessing over what you lack, your heart opens to receive what's already there. The more you appreciate, the more life reveals. People think they need more to be grateful, but it's gratitude that attracts more. When you're thankful, you radiate abundance. When you complain, you attract emptiness. Life mirrors your focus. If you see lack, you live lack. If you see value, you live in fullness. Gratitude sharpens your inner vision. It teaches you to see potential instead of problems, lessons instead of losses. Every delay, every failure, every heartbreak carries a message, but you can only hear it if your heart is grateful. Gratitude makes you sensitive to meaning. It helps you perceive divine timing in moments that feel like mistakes. The door that closed wasn't rejection, it was redirection. The opportunity that passed wasn't punishment, it was protection. But without gratitude, you'll miss the message and only feel the pain. A man once said, I used to complain that I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. That moment of realization changed his entire perspective. Gratitude doesn't always come from getting more. Sometimes it comes from seeing differently. Comparison blinds you, but gratitude restores your sight. When you start appreciating what you already have, you stop envying others. You begin to understand that your life is unfolding exactly as it should. You stop chasing other people's blessings because you realize your own are already blooming. In every challenge you've ever faced, there's been at least one reason to be thankful. Maybe it taught you patience. Maybe it revealed true friends. Maybe it broke something in you that needed to be broken so something greater could grow. Gratitude allows you to look back at painful moments and still see grace. You begin to say, I didn't like what happened, but I like who it made me. That awareness is power. Gratitude turns the ordinary into sacred ground. The sound of rain becomes peace instead of noise. The laughter of a friend becomes medicine instead of background. A small success becomes a victory instead of a step you ignore. Gratitude makes you present because it teaches you that life is happening now. Not tomorrow, not later, not after you achieve something, now. And if you can see value now, you've already mastered what most people spend their whole lives searching for. Every great thinker, every wise leader, every fulfilled soul has learned that gratitude is not a reaction. It's a discipline. It's choosing to see light in the dark, to find meaning in the mundane, to honor the moment instead of escaping it. When gratitude sharpens your vision, life no longer feels like a chase. It feels like a gift that keeps unfolding with every breath you take. The delay you despise might be the preparation you need. Sometimes life places you in waiting rooms that feel endless. You look around and everyone else seems to be moving, achieving, growing, and you wonder why you're stuck. You pray, you work, you plan, but still nothing seems to move. And that's when frustration starts whispering, maybe you're not good enough. But what if the delay isn't punishment? What if it's protection? What if the season you hate is the very one that's shaping you for what's next? The delay isn't denial, it's development. You're being molded in silence for a stage you haven't seen yet. Think about a seed buried in the ground. It's dark, it's quiet, and it probably feels like nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming, strength is building, and foundation is growing. If the seed could speak, it might say, "Why am I buried?" But the gardener knows it's not buried to die, it's buried to rise. The delay is not death, it's gestation. The longer the root takes, the stronger the tree becomes. Life is the same. Sometimes God or destiny buries you not to hide you, but to prepare you. You might be waiting for your breakthrough, your moment, your opportunity, and every day it feels like it's getting further away. But you don't realize that the delay is aligning things you can't see. Maybe that connection you need isn't ready yet. Maybe that door you're about to walk through still needs to be built. Sometimes the world needs time to catch up to your purpose. If everything came too soon, you'd step into something you're not prepared to sustain. Timing is not about convenience. It's about capacity. You don't want it when you want it. You want it when you're ready to hold it without losing yourself. A young artist once shared that before anyone ever knew his name, he spent years performing in empty bars. He hated those nights. No one listened, no one cared, and he felt invisible. But later, when fame finally arrived, he realized those empty nights taught him discipline, humility, and endurance. The very season he despised had trained him to handle the spotlight. Without those delays, he would have collapsed under pressure. Sometimes the audience doesn't come until the performer is ready. Many people quit right before the season turns. They assume the delay means they're forgotten, not realizing it's the final test before the blessing. The universe watches how you behave in waiting. Do you complain or do you build? Do you lose faith or do you grow deeper roots? If you can stay faithful when nothing seems to move, you prove that your motivation wasn't dependent on results. That's the kind of strength life rewards. Because when you finally reach that moment, you won't just have success. You'll have stability. Look at the butterfly. Before it flies, it must spend time in the cocoon. That place looks like confinement, but it's construction. Inside that small dark space, transformation happens. If someone cuts the cocoon early to help, the butterfly never develops the strength to fly. It needs the struggle. It needs the delay. The resistance builds the wings. Maybe your delay is building your wings too. Every tear, every setback, every unanswered prayer is shaping something inside you that will help you soar when the time comes. Sometimes the delay is teaching you patience. Sometimes it's building your character. And sometimes it's protecting you from something your eyes can't see. Think about how many times you wanted something badly, but later thank God you didn't get it. Maybe that relationship that didn't work out would have broken you. Maybe that job you didn't get would have limited you. Maybe that path that closed was saving you from settling for less. The delay you're despising might be saving you from destruction. There's a story of a man who missed his bus to work one morning. He was furious, pacing back and forth, complaining about how this delay ruined his schedule. Hours later, he learned that the bus he missed got into a tragic accident. In that moment, his anger turned into tears of gratitude. That delay had protected him. What he thought was a curse was actually grace in disguise. Sometimes God blocks your path because He knows what's ahead. You're upset because you can't move, but He's holding you still because danger is around the corner. When you're delayed, it's easy to think you're forgotten. But silence doesn't mean absence. The teacher is always quiet during the test. The delay might just be your test of trust. Will you still move with faith when nothing is happening? Will you still prepare as if tomorrow is the breakthrough, even when today feels dry? Because that's how destiny works. It doesn't show up when you're ready for comfort. It shows up when you're prepared through commitment. Some people rush into opportunities they're not prepared for and end up losing what they begged for. Imagine being given a crown before learning how to carry its weight. It would crush you. The delay is making sure that when you rise, you stay resilient. It's building the strength to handle the blessing, not just receive it. Think of a house being built. The foundation takes the longest time, and to outsiders, it looks like nothing's happening. But once that foundation is set, the structure rises quickly. Maybe your foundation is being built right now. Every great story has a waiting chapter. Moses had the desert, Joseph had the prison, David had the cave, and even Jesus had years of silence before the public miracle. The waiting doesn't waste time, it prepares you for it. You're learning, healing, growing, maturing, even when it feels like nothing's moving. Your delay is divine design. One day, when everything aligns, you'll realize why it took so long. The version of you who will receive that blessing is not the version who started waiting. And that's the beauty of preparation hidden within delay. Perspective turns pain into progress. There are moments in life when pain feels like the end. It hits you so hard that you start to believe nothing good can ever come from it. But the truth is, pain isn't always a signal of defeat. It's often the doorway to discovery. Pain is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to develop you. What breaks most people is not the pain itself, but the perspective they hold about it. When you see pain as punishment, you become bitter. When you see it as preparation, you become better. The difference is not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to see it. Think about a diamond. It starts as a piece of coal, dark, rough, and ordinary. But when it's placed under extreme pressure and heat, it transforms into something priceless. The same principle applies to your life. Pressure reveals your potential. Pain exposes your purpose. When you shift your perspective from why me to what is this teaching me, everything changes. The lesson is not in the comfort, it's in the challenge. Many people spend their lives running from pain, not realizing that the thing they're running from is the very thing that could free them. Every strong person you've ever admired has walked through a fire you didn't see. Greatness is not born in comfort, it's forged in struggle. When you learn to look at your pain as a teacher rather than a thief, you begin to grow in ways that comfort could never allow. Pain refines what comfort hides. A man once lost his job and thought his life was falling apart. He spent months angry, confused, blaming himself and everyone else. But in that forced stillness, he started thinking differently. He realized he had skills he never valued. He started a small business from his kitchen table. Years later, that business grew beyond what his old job could ever have given him. What looked like pain was actually redirection. His perspective changed his outcome. Pain didn't destroy him, it delivered him. It's not the fall that defines you, it's how you interpret the fall. Two people can go through the same storm. One comes out broken, the other comes out stronger. The storm isn't the difference, the perspective is. When you tell yourself, this is happening to me, you stay stuck. When you start saying, this is happening for me, you take back your power. Progress begins the moment you stop fighting pain and start listening to it. Think about the gym. The same weight that hurts you today will shape you tomorrow. Growth requires resistance. No one gets stronger without tension. If you never allow yourself to struggle, you'll never develop the strength to rise. Pain doesn't show up to destroy your peace. It shows up to demand your evolution. It's saying, there's more in you that needs to come out. Every tear, every disappointment, every heartbreak is shaping a version of you that comfort could never reach. Sometimes life will break you just to rebuild you right. You might lose people, opportunities, or things you thought you couldn't live without. But later, when you look back, you'll realize that what you lost cleared the path for what you were meant to gain. Your pain has purpose, but purpose can only be seen through perspective. Without perspective, pain is just suffering. With perspective, it becomes transformation. Imagine a potter shaping clay. When he presses it, stretches it, and puts it in the fire, the clay could say, why are you hurting me? But the potter knows that without pressure and heat, it will never become strong enough to hold its purpose. The same goes for you. Life presses you not to crush you, but to shape you. The fire you hate is making you unbreakable. The stretching you resist is expanding your capacity. What feels like breaking is actually becoming. A woman once said, I used to pray for an easy life, but then I realized ease never taught me anything. That's the secret of perspective. It turns wounds into wisdom. You start to understand that not everything painful is bad for you, and not everything comfortable is good for you. Sometimes the blessing hides behind the burden. Sometimes the thing that hurts you today will be the story that heals others tomorrow. The same pain that once made you cry will one day make you wise enough to lead. Life will test you again and again, not to see you fail, but to see if you've learned how to see. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what it means to you. When you shift your view, you shift your life. A closed door stops being rejection and becomes redirection. A heartbreak stops being loss and becomes liberation. A setback stops being failure and becomes foundation. Everything changes the moment you decide to see differently. The reason some people rise higher after pain is because they choose to extract lessons from their wounds instead of licking them. They use pain as fuel, not an excuse. Every champion has scars, but they wear them as symbols of survival, not shame. The pain didn't make them weaker, it made them wiser. Perspective turned their hurt into history. So when life gets heavy, ask yourself, What is this pain trying to show me? Maybe it's revealing who you are. Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's breaking your attachment to things that were never meant to stay. Pain often comes as a disguise for purpose. The world sees you struggling, but heaven sees you strengthening. You're being trained in the dark for light you haven't seen yet. You don't grow when things are easy. You grow when things challenge your understanding. Every difficulty carries a hidden lesson, and the key to progress is learning how to look through the pain, not just at it. When you look through it, you find meaning. When you look at it, you only find misery. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The only difference is perspective. When your vision changes, your life changes. When your thoughts evolve, your results transform. Your greatest strength is not in avoiding pain, but in transforming it. Perspective is what turns loss into learning, struggle into strategy, and pain into progress. You cannot see value until you start valuing what you see. Most people spend their whole lives chasing what they don't have, while overlooking what's already in their hands. They keep praying for miracles, not realizing they're already standing in one. You see, value is not something that exists outside of you. It's something your perception creates. What you value grows, what you ignore fades. If you don't appreciate what's in front of you, life won't trust you with more. So many people are blind to their blessings because they're too focused on comparison. They look at someone else's life, someone else's success, someone else's progress, and forget that their own journey carries treasure too. Imagine holding a diamond but treating it like a rock simply because it doesn't shine like someone else's. The problem isn't the diamond, it's your failure to recognize its worth. Until you value what you see, you'll always believe that something better is somewhere else. A young man once worked at a small shop. He hated his job, called it boring, meaningless, a waste of time. Every day he dreamed of something greater. One day the owner of the shop retired and offered it to him. That same small shop he despised became the foundation of his million-dollar business. What changed wasn't the shop, it was his perception. Once he began to value it, he saw what it could become. Value transforms vision. The moment you start appreciating what you have, you begin unlocking its potential. You can't see value in your relationships until you stop taking people for granted. The person who checks on you every day, the friend who listens to your silence, the partner who stands beside you in storms. They might not do grand things, but their consistency is a kind of love most people pray for. Some don't realize how valuable loyalty, kindness, and presence are until they lose them. Life teaches value through absence when appreciation is neglected in presence. Don't wait for loss to open your eyes. Open them now. Think about your talents. So many people underestimate themselves because their gift doesn't look glamorous. Maybe you can make people laugh. Maybe you can fix things. Maybe you have patience when others don't. You think it's small, but small gifts change worlds when valued and developed. The problem is not that you're not gifted. It's that you haven't valued your gift enough to grow it. The seed looks insignificant until someone values it enough to plant it. There's a story of a woman who found an old violin in her attic. She thought it was useless, ready to throw it away, until a neighbor told her to get it appraised. When she did, she discovered it was worth thousands. The violin didn't gain value that day. She just became aware of the value that was always there. How many things in your life are like that violin? Your health, your peace, your mind, your relationships, they're priceless, but you won't see it until you start valuing them. Value changes the way you act. When you value something, you protect it, nurture it, and invest in it. If you don't value your time, others will waste it for you. If you don't value your energy, life will drain it without return. People who succeed are not necessarily smarter. They've just learned to value what others overlook. They value their mornings, their focus, their lessons, their failures. Every experience, whether good or painful, becomes valuable when you see it as part of your growth. One man may complain about a cup being half empty, while another thanks God it's half full. The same cup, the same amount of water, but two different outcomes. The first sees lack, the second sees provision. The only difference is value. If you focus on what's missing, you'll always live in scarcity. If you focus on what's present, you'll always live in abundance. Gratitude is the lens that reveals value. It turns ordinary moments into miracles. Think about your parents. When you were young, their sacrifices might have annoyed you. You wanted freedom, independence, your own way. But years later, When you carry your own responsibilities, you realize how much they gave without asking for credit. Suddenly you see value in what was always there. The same voice that corrected you was the voice that cared for you. Value doesn't increase with time, your understanding of it does. Maturity is simply learning to see what you once overlooked. People often say, if I had more, I would do better. But the truth is, you'll never do more until you value the little you have. The person who can't manage 100 will never manage 1,000. The person who doesn't honor one opportunity won't recognize the next one either. You can't multiply what you don't appreciate. The secret to abundance is gratitude. When you value what's small, it grows. When you neglect what's small, it disappears. Life is full of hidden treasures disguised as ordinary moments. Your daily routine, your struggles, your quiet victories, they all carry unseen worth. The smile you share, the work you do, the patience you show, they may not get applause, but they hold power. You might be walking past blessings every day, calling them normal because they don't look supernatural. But the extraordinary often hides within the ordinary, waiting for someone with eyes of value to uncover it. Sometimes God doesn't send more because He's waiting for you to value what's already there. How can He trust you with a garden when you don't water the plant you have? You're praying for big opportunities while ignoring the small doors that could lead to them. Every major breakthrough begins as something minor that someone valued enough to grow. When you treat the small thing like it's great, it eventually becomes great. When you treat the great thing like it's small, it eventually disappears. Every relationship, every dream, every resource has a hidden value, but it won't reveal itself until you recognize it. Once you start seeing through the eyes of gratitude, your world begins to change. What once looked ordinary starts to glow with meaning. What once seemed small starts to expand with purpose. What once felt empty begins to overflow. It's not that your life suddenly became better. It's that you finally began to value what you see. Destiny often hides behind what you take for granted. It's strange how life works. The things we see every day, the people we meet, the opportunities that look too small, the moments that seem ordinary, they often carry the seeds of something extraordinary. But because they don't look special, we ignore them. We walk past what could change our lives, thinking it's nothing. That's how destiny hides, not behind mountains, not behind miracles, but behind the familiar. We expect destiny to come with a trumpet sound, with lights and noise, with big announcements and visible signs. But it rarely does. Destiny comes quietly. It comes as a conversation you didn't plan, a person you almost didn't notice, a job you thought was beneath you, an idea you brushed off as silly. It hides behind your daily routine, waiting for your awareness to grow. The problem isn't that life hides your purpose. It's that you're too distracted to see it. Think about a gardener who walks past a patch of dry soil every day. He complains about the ground, saying it's too hard, too lifeless. But buried deep inside that same soil are seeds that could become a forest if only he valued them enough to water them. The soil never lacked potential, it lacked attention. That's how destiny works. It's not missing, it's ignored. What you take for granted today might be the very thing that carries your greatness tomorrow. So many people spend their lives looking for meaning in faraway places, while the purpose they're searching for is tied to what's already in their hands. A teacher may complain about her job, tired of the same classroom, the same faces, the same challenges. But one of those students could one day become a leader who changes the world. All because she showed up even when it felt repetitive. She didn't realize she was shaping destiny in real time. The ordinary task carried eternal impact. A man once worked as a janitor in a small office. He hated it. Every night he cleaned floors, emptied trash cans, and dreamed of a better life. One day a businessman noticed his consistency and humility. He offered him a chance to help with some paperwork. That opportunity grew into a job, and years later the janitor became a partner in the company. Destiny was never far. It was hiding in the mop, the broom, the simple act of faithfulness. The man took what others took for granted and turned it into purpose. We often pray for new doors to open, but we ignore the door we already have. Sometimes what you're complaining about is what you're called to change. What you're bored with might be your training ground. What you're overlooking might be the foundation for your future. The small skill you think doesn't matter could become the thing that sets you apart. Destiny doesn't always come through dreams. Sometimes it comes through discipline. The truth is, Gratitude reveals destiny. When you start valuing what's around you, life begins to reveal what's within it. The person who values their small beginnings attracts bigger ones. The person who sees beauty in simplicity discovers abundance. Destiny responds to attention. It only reveals itself to those who look with appreciation, not with complaint. When you take things for granted, they hide their power. When you honor them, they reveal it. Imagine a young boy who plays piano in a small church. He dreams of big stages and bright lights. But every Sunday, he plays for 20 people in an old building, and he feels invisible. Years pass, and one day a visitor walks in, hears him play, and offers him a chance to produce music professionally. The same piano he once resented became the platform for his destiny. Nothing changed, only his awareness did. Destiny wasn't waiting for a stage, it was waiting for him to appreciate the one he had. We all have people, places, and opportunities we overlook because they've become familiar. Maybe it's your family, the ones you assume will always be there. Maybe it's your work, the one you think is too small for your dreams. Maybe it's your community, the one you keep trying to escape. What if everything you're looking for is hidden in the things you keep overlooking? What if the familiar is the vessel for your future? Life tests your ability to recognize greatness in disguise. Destiny doesn't wear a crown when it first meets you. It wears overalls. It shows up as hard work. It arrives in humble form. The question is not whether you've been given destiny. It's whether you can recognize it when it looks ordinary. The ability to see value in the unseen is what separates those who succeed from those who merely survive. There was once a young woman who complained about helping her father in his small family store. She thought it was beneath her, just a place that kept her from her dreams. Years later, when her father passed away, she took over reluctantly. But soon she discovered that every small lesson he taught her about customers, honesty, and patience became the backbone of her success. She expanded the store, built a brand, and realized that her destiny had been standing behind that counter all along. The very thing she took for granted became her greatest blessing. Sometimes you don't see destiny because it comes disguised as duty. It's in the things you think are too small to matter. It's in the tasks you perform without applause. It's in the moments that don't make headlines but build habits. When you learn to serve in silence, you're being prepared for stages you can't see yet. Destiny hides in the ordinary because the ordinary tests your heart. If you can value what's small, you can be trusted with what's great. Life has a way of hiding the extraordinary inside the everyday. Your job might look dull, your routine might feel pointless, your life might seem predictable. But inside all that, destiny is weaving a story. Every experience, every delay, every challenge has purpose, and often it's the things you overlook that shape who you become. Destiny is never far away. It's simply disguised in what you take for granted. Real vision is not about seeing more. It's about seeing deeper. Most people spend their lives chasing what their eyes can see, but never take the time to understand what their heart is trying to reveal. Real vision doesn't come from the eyes, it comes from insight. It's the ability to look beyond what's obvious, to sense the meaning beneath the surface, and to recognize the purpose hiding in plain sight. There are people who live in beautiful homes, drive luxury cars, and wear designer clothes, but deep inside, they feel empty because they've mastered seeing more but never learned to see deeper. They have sight but lack vision. They can describe the world around them, but they cannot discern the world within them. Think about how many times you've been so focused on what's ahead that you missed what was beside you. Sometimes the opportunity you've been praying for isn't across the world. It's sitting next to you, waiting for you to notice. Sometimes the person who believes in you most isn't a stranger you'll meet someday, but someone who's been walking with you all along. We're so obsessed with expansion that we ignore depth. We want more followers, more money, more attention, but what about more wisdom, more awareness, more gratitude? When you see deeper, you realize that what you already have might be exactly what you need to become who you're meant to be. Real vision is not about counting your blessings, it's about understanding them. It's not about looking at what's missing, but recognizing what's meaningful. Imagine a gardener staring at a seed. To the untrained eye, it's just a small, lifeless thing. But to the one who sees deeper, it's a forest waiting to grow. Most people see the surface and stop there. Visionaries dig beneath. They see potential in problems, lessons in pain, and purpose in waiting. They don't complain about what's not visible yet because they understand that true greatness takes time to reveal itself. There are moments in life when your current situation looks like a setback. You feel stuck, overlooked, or unappreciated. But maybe you're not being buried. Maybe you're being planted. When you're buried, life is over. When you're planted, life is just beginning. The difference is perspective. When you see deeper, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Real vision transforms frustration into fuel and confusion into clarity. It allows you to look at the same circumstance and find a new meaning. One of the reasons so many people live frustrated lives is because they confuse what's visible with what's valuable. They chase what glitters instead of what grows. They see the sparkle of success but miss the struggle that sustains it. The people who make the greatest impact are those who look beyond the surface. They don't judge life by what it looks like right now. They see through time. They understand that today's inconvenience might be the foundation for tomorrow's influence. Think about how often life hides purpose in problems. The people who changed the world are those who looked at pain and saw potential. When others complained, they created. When others gave up, they grew. Real vision is the courage to believe there's something worth seeing, even when everyone else says there's nothing there. It's the strength to look at a closed door and recognize that sometimes rejection is just redirection. In your daily life, seeing deeper means looking at people differently too. The person who annoys you might be reflecting a part of yourself you need to heal. The challenge you face at work might be preparing you for leadership. The delay you hate might be protecting you from disaster. Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. But you can only recognize that when you look beyond the obvious. Look at the ocean. When you stand on the shore, you see waves, foam, and motion. It's beautiful, but shallow. Dive beneath the surface and you'll find stillness, mystery, and life. That's how vision works. Sight gives you the surface, vision gives you the soul. And if you live by sight alone, you'll always be tossed by the waves of emotion and circumstance. But if you live by vision, you'll find peace in the depth, no matter how the surface shifts. There's a difference between looking and seeing. Looking is easy. It's physical. Seeing is spiritual. It requires awareness. Most people only look at their problems. Visionaries see the patterns. Most people look at a mirror and see their reflection. Visionaries see their responsibility. Most people look at the clock and count minutes. Visionaries see moments that matter. Real vision invites you to pause, reflect, and see deeper. It's about asking yourself, what is life showing me right now that I keep overlooking? What lesson is right in front of me that I've been too distracted to notice? The truth is, what you're searching for is often hiding in the routine, disguised in the familiar, and wrapped in the ordinary. The moment you stop trying to see more and stop trying to see deeper, everything changes. Life has a strange way of hiding the most beautiful truths in plain sight. We chase the extraordinary while standing in the middle of what's already miraculous. We keep running after what we think will complete us, not realizing that everything we need to begin, to rise, to conquer, is already within our reach. Sometimes the hardest thing to see is what's right in front of you, because your eyes are focused on what you've lost, not on what you have. But the moment you slow down, breathe, and look again, you'll realize that life has been whispering answers all along. You just needed to be still enough to hear them. The truth is, life is not hiding your purpose, it's training your perception. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment is not there to destroy you, but to develop you. The pain you cursed yesterday might be the very lesson you thank tomorrow. There's a reason you went through what you went through. The doors that closed, the people who left, the moments that broke you, they weren't accidents. They were invitations to see beyond the surface, to discover the strength, wisdom, and clarity that only come through pressure. Diamonds don't shine without pressure, and purpose doesn't reveal itself without pain. Too often we wait for a perfect moment to start, a perfect opportunity to shine, a perfect season to grow. But life doesn't wait for perfection. It responds to awareness. The opportunity of a lifetime will often appear disguised as hard work. The blessing you've been praying for might show up wrapped in responsibility. The moment you stop asking for easier situations and start asking for clearer vision, you'll see that you already have more than enough to begin. The greatest shift happens not when life changes, but when your perception does. You were never meant to live blind to your own greatness. Every morning you wake up, You stand before possibilities that are waiting to be seen. But you can't see the sunrise if your eyes are closed from yesterday's darkness. You can't see new opportunities if you're obsessed with old disappointments. Open your eyes, not just the ones in your head, but the ones in your heart. Because real sight is not what you see with your eyes, it's what you understand with your soul. Some of you keep asking for signs, but the truth is the sign is already there. It's the talent you've ignored. It's the relationship you've taken for granted. It's the small victory you didn't celebrate because you were too busy chasing something bigger. Sometimes God doesn't send you new blessings. He just opens your eyes to the ones you already have. And when you finally see them, you'll realize that what you thought was ordinary was actually divine. Life will test your vision before it trusts your voice. That's why things seem unclear before they make sense. You're not lost, you're being led. You're not behind, you're being prepared. The delay is not denial, it's development. When you see deeper, you understand that patience is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the ability to stand still when your mind screams to rush. It's knowing that what's meant for you won't miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. Every great achiever was once someone who refused to be blinded by circumstance. They saw possibilities in places others ignored. They believed in timing when everyone else believed in luck. They understood that success is not built on sight. It's built on vision. When you can see what others can't, you can do what others won't. Visionaries are never trapped by what they see because they live guided by what they believe. They may walk through storms, but they never lose direction because their eyes are fixed not on where they are, but on where they're going. There comes a time in life when you have to stop waiting for clarity and start creating it. Stop wishing for light and start becoming it. Stop complaining about the darkness and start realizing that your purpose is to shine in it. If you want to see further, you must learn to see deeper. And if you want to go higher, you must learn to look within. Everything starts with sight, but it ends with vision. So look again at your life. Look again at your challenges. Look again at the people around you. The thing you think is holding you back might actually be the thing pushing you forward. The obstacle you hate might be the opportunity you've been missing. The silence you're frustrated by might be the season that's preparing your strength. Open your eyes to the hidden blessings. They're right in front of you, waiting to be recognized. The greatest tragedy in life is not death. It's living without seeing. It's walking through life blind to your own value, your own purpose, your own power. The richest place in the world is not a gold mine or an oil field. It's the graveyard filled with visions never seen, songs never sung, and dreams never realized because people failed to recognize what they already had. Don't let your vision die inside you because you refuse to open your eyes. Today, make a choice to see differently. Choose to see the beauty in what you already have, the strength in what you've survived, and the promise in where you're headed. Remember, what you focus on expands. If you focus on lack, you'll live in limitation. If you focus on gratitude, you'll live in growth. Life responds to the lens you look through. So clean your lens, adjust your focus, and look again. Because the miracle isn't somewhere out there, it's right where you are. The world belongs to those who can see beyond what's visible. The ones who believe when others doubt, who rise when others retreat, who build when others break. They understand that sight shows you what is, but vision reveals what can be. And when you start to live with that kind of vision, life begins to open up in ways you never imagined. So don't just open your eyes, awaken your perception. Don't just look, truly see. The answers, the opportunities, the blessings, the love, the purpose, they're not hidden. They're right in front of you, waiting for you to recognize them. Sometimes the hardest thing to see is what's right in front of you. But once you see it, your entire world will never look the same again.